When I think of the Congress, I can't help but think about all the headlines I saw in November. Women are taking over the Congress. Really? 20%. Women are taking over the Senate at 20%.
Right.
No matter how good your math skills are, 20% is just not a takeover. I think it shows how uncomfortable we are with women in power, that we were so astonished that women got to 20%. And I think we can change that.
I think people want to know who you are and where you have been and how you've gotten where you are.
I was born in Miami. I recognize the fortune of my birth. It's something I was raised to understand. I think about all the time that, there's a huge, I could have been born anywhere else in the world, and there's so many places in the world where women still don't have basic civil rights. And so I feel fortunate to be born in this country, to have gotten a great education, something I'm deeply worried we don't give enough of our kids now. And I was raised by parents. I had a brother and a sister who told me that I could do anything if I worked hard enough.
Were you bossy?
I was bossy
Me
for
too.
sure. You too?
Me too.
At my wedding, my brother and sister stood up and said, "Hi, we're Cheryl's younger brother and sister, David and Michelle, but we're not really Cheryl's younger brother and sister. We're really her first employees. Employee 1 and employee 2. Because Sheryl never really played as a child. She basically organized other children's play. And everyone laughed. I laughed. And it is a funny joke, but there's something really serious in that joke. There's something part of me that's still embarrassed by that joke. I had a hard time putting it in my book. But I did, because if we want women to lead, we've got to stop calling them bossy. If you go to the playground this weekend, you will see people call little girls bossy, but they almost never call little boys.
I know it. Isn't that interesting?
That's right. So you were called bossy as a little girl?
I was called bossy all the time. My girlfriends called me bossy, not the boys. The girls call me bossy.
That's right.
So here we are.
And that's one of the most important things for people to understand about stereotypes. Stereotypes and gender bias is held by women as well as men. People will say, those same stereotypes, we call our little girls bossy in the playground. Those same women get performance reviews at work, and people say things like, "She's really good at her job, but she's a little aggressive. She's a little too assertive," right? Or, "She's just not as well liked by her peers."
Did you get reviews
all
like
of that? Every woman I know in a senior job was called bossy in her child.
What was your reaction when, as you moved up the employment ladder, you got those, well, if you could tone it down a little?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote Lean In for every girl who's been called bossy, so we would stop. And for every woman who's had that review, so she'll know you're not crazy, it's not you. What the data shows very conclusively is that success and likability are positively correlated for men and negatively correlated for women. That means as a man gets more successful, more powerful, he's better liked by men and women. And as a woman gets more successful and powerful, she's less liked. Rachel Thomas just became the president of leanin.org, the nonprofit I'm working on starting along with the book. And she was talking to her 5-year-old daughter, Haley, about why she took the job. And she said, "Haley, what if I told you that as mommy does better at work, fewer people like me? But when daddy does better at work, more people like him. What would you say?" And she expected Haley to say, "Well, that's really unfair, Mom." But that's not what Haley said. Haley said, "Well, then, Mommy, I would be less successful at work, so more people will like me."